Today I'm going to share about the amazing power of the inner child from John Bradshaw. We each need to make the highest power journey, the higher power journey for ourselves, which is a uniquely private relationship with God versus the brainwashing or indoctrination. Because our real spirituality begins when we give up our caregiver's version. Healthy shame actually lets us know our limits, and a healthy belief in potency is critical for children's self-empowerment. Like that, what I do, that we can have intellectual mothers and fathers, trustworthy sources, doesn't mean our actual mothers and fathers later on. But when we're children, we have to believe like there's, that we're potent, that there's, and so sometimes in order to heal, we have to redo the childhood scenes like NLP or cybernetics principles. We no longer need to then act those patterns out. And we can also recognize that we make ourselves happy or miserable. It's the same amount of work. One technique is to picture scenes that were damaging and think of the strengths available as an adult, which is like less fear or anger, more articulation, more courage. For example, there's a scene that I used, which was like an alarm that went off when I was when it sensed moisture in my panties, like that my father had created for me, like and bought in order to stop bedwetting, instead of recognizing that I had started bedwetting around 7, 8 or 6, 7, because of emotional problems going on for me at home and at school. And then we can use kinesthetic anchors. When we think of that time that we handled things appropriately, we do a simple gesture that reinforces it or creates an association or a trigger. You can stack 1 or 2, like in the fingers or anywhere, and go back to the scene with these held memories of the adult strengths in action. Like you can touch the finger, remembering courage, articulation, and anger. So we're like, my anger gave me courage, and I learned to speak. And expressing anger respectfully is to say what I see and hear and what I want, and say what I feel and label it. Like, I'm angry. What I want is for things to be such and such. And what I'm seeing and hearing is such and such. So there's a new parenting with new rules. We can express feelings and anger, unpleasant things, and we don't need to be repressed. And so we can in nurturing the child as while reliving these painful memories, we can champion for them. It doesn't mean we actually got a happy child. It's too late for that. But the functioning means dealing with things, whether it's happy or sad or angry. And validation is to quit trusting the eyes and ears in childhood when hearing, fighting, or seeing crying wasn't contextualized or taught for processing. So support groups can be the most important. So like when we actually see and hear what's going on, we can learn to trust ourselves, like what we're experiencing versus like how we were taught maybe not to trust or experience that. And then it's okay to feel our feelings. It's how we stay connected with ourselves, how to stay sane. And it's okay to think what we think. We were taught we were stupid in dysfunctional families, and that we should accept others' dictations to us of our experience versus our own experiences. And it's important to be connected to our desires, even though we were discouraged in poor families, and to our dreams, which is our life energy. And when we find the wonder child, it's so important to give ourselves permission to play and to love life. And adult play is like sexual play versus like the sexual shame a lot of people feel. And it's very damaging to pretend we didn't all have genitals, like, in families with dysfunction. And it is crucial to delay gratification, because when we have discipline, it's a technique to enhance life's pleasures. It's difficult for children who grew up in scarcity, like I relate to that, to believe that there will be more or enough. But we have to start to tell ourselves, like, I'll reflect, I'm going to take care of Ashina. I'm going to provide and protect and ensure that all our needs are met. All the needs, not ours, sorry. All the needs are met. And we can value chosen from alternatives, considering the consequences, and prize and cherish it, and be willing to publicly proclaim it and act on it repeatedly. That's how we learn to really be one with our value. And it's not all or nothing. We have got to be reasonable and not need everyone's approval. We decide on, and telling the truth allows us to be known versus the people-pleasing act, which is dishonest. And when we pause and do reality checks, we can find out if we're actually in ourselves catastrophizing and we're not actually catching up. And mistakes are teachers. They are, problems are a part of life. And with roles, for example, maybe a role that we're not allowed to make mistakes. For example, roles are like superachiever, caretaker, scapegoat. They're all cover-ups for shame in a dysfunctional family because the child finds a way to matter, but they're not chosen roles. First, we have to figure out our roles, whether it's like the addict, which is the abused or trained in addiction, person, which is, an abused person is being trained for addiction when it comes to dysfunctional relationships in the family, and then later on, this is intimacy issues too. So it's like power, control, secrecy, fear, shame, distrust, distance, numbing out of feelings. And, for example, the scapegoat is often the most sensitive person in the family with the deepest feelings, acting out mother's and father's, mommy and daddy's anger, and getting in trouble for acting out the loneliness or the pain of the family. So believing we don't matter unless we're a super achiever, for example, or we have to figure out really which roles were most significant and has the role actually helped the family? Like, did it make them recover on the path to fully functioning wholeness? Or, what feelings does everyone have to give up? For example, the lost child is on the sidelines, never goes anywhere, too scared to come out of hiding, never lets oneself enjoy life, lonely, hurting, not going to meet anyone. The rebel is still rebelling. And the surrogate spouse is the one that, the rebel is still rebelling, not getting a sustainable job, and the surrogate spouse is like the one that no one measures up. We were used for our parents' loneliness. All these roles are literally life damaging. So obviously there's work involved, but it's literally saving our life. So we can figure out what parts of the role we like and want to keep, and we can challenge the role with new healthy behaviors. And a rigid role in acting and loyalty to the system is a psychological death. So it's like never having even lived, perhaps. So we died without never knowing who we are. So from now on in this work, we get to live with ourselves by saying, I don't fear that I'll die. I feel I'll never have begun to live. That's John Bradshaw quoting somebody else. And so there's two kinds of people in another quote he gives. One kind you can tell just by looking at them at what point they congealed into their final self. And you can expect no more surprises from this person. The other kind keeps moving and changing and making new trysts with life, and the motion of it keeps them young. So one way of recovery for the inner child, now that we have all this information, the amazing power of the inner child, all from John Bradshaw. He has tons of YouTube videos. I will 100%, I give him so much credit for my recovery, but I also have to give credit to the 12-step programs. It doesn't matter if you choose NA, which is for narcotics, drugs, AA for alcohol, SA for sex. There's SLA for sex and love. There's P for porn. There's G for gambling, and OA for food, MA for marijuana. There's just an Al-Anon for people who are addicted to people who are addicted. So this is the steps, and you can see why this is so necessary in terms of the self, the inner child, the spirit. Number one, we admit we're powerless over whether it's people, whether it's our parents, whether it's our past. There's even a CODA, which is Codependence Anonymous. And so number one, we admit we're powerless over, and I'm going to do this today for myself. We'll do this as a practice. So name one thing. So I'm going to say I'm powerless over somebody else choosing to be responsible for their feelings. I admit I'm powerless over my father being responsible for his feelings, and life has become unmanageable when I'm trying to. In fact, I ended up in a relationship with somebody around a little younger than my father to try to subconsciously act out where the person would say sorry, be generous, not judge me, choose love. It made my life unmanageable, caused me heartbreak. 2, came to believe a power that is greater than myself could restore me to sanity. And the truth is I did. I believed in grace. I believed that there is a higher truth for why people become so wounded. And in the bigger picture, I can recognize their inner child can still heal. I brought up their woundedness as much as I got touched in the process. Number 3, I made a decision to turn my will and life over to the care of God as I understand him or her or it. And every single day of my personal journey, I've recognized that I have to turn these people over, and I have to say, God, I could have been acting out, or, life, nature, the crystal living gel liquid light of our beingness and deeply, I can't take care of these people. I tried and I couldn't do it. I couldn't make them do what I thought they should do. So you can take care of them and you can take care of me better. You gave me people. If I didn't try to turn someone into someone else, you gave me people that will help me. And number 4, we make a searching and fearless inventory of ourselves. I say, wow, I've been acting out my father even through people trying to change them. Instead of accept them and love them, I'm trying to shame them into being somebody who will do what I want. In some way, I am no longer afraid of the fact that my woundedness is the only way that I could be engaged with somebody who's wounded in acting out these roles, right? Number 5, admitted to God, myself, and another human the exact nature of my wrongs. And it was that I was refusing to bond with myself and depend on myself and love myself. I was still looking for a person in a pattern to be the other half to this entanglement. 6, was entirely ready to have God remove all these character defects. Now, I said, you know what? I actually want to enjoy life. I don't want to be grieving and be righteously grieving like I'm a victim. So I want to stop being somebody who would ever be careless with anyone else's feelings. I want to become a more sensitive, kinder person, starting with myself. Why would I be putting myself in situations with people who cannot value the present moment with another person that could never happen again, and instead is looking for a distraction or to, get motivated for their own stuff, using people's fuel. Number 7, I don't want to be that person or accommodate those people. Number 7, humbly ask him to remove my shortcomings. That means that I'm now ready to learn new skills. This is, for me, one of the hardest parts. Number 7 is also a judgment number, and 7 is Zion, which means penis or phallus, and weapon also. So Zion is like the number 7, and so it's like to ask God to cut my will a little bit. Like, what does that mean? My want for more from the outside than I'm supposed to get. Instead, if I don't want it, I can have it. I already have it. I have my peace. Like, I'm safe. Can I just arrive into the peace of safety at this moment rather than feeling short? Shortcoming means I'm coming up short, right? 8, made a list of people I've harmed and became willing to make amends. Now, I thought of somebody who I'd been in a relationship with, and also we stayed connected. And I realized all the things I admired about him was versions I wanted to be, and then kind of wanted him to stay in place so that I could have this fixed person and then do what I want, do what my father wouldn't do. Like, could you do it? And so number 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except one would do so would injure them or others. And that's to take responsibility for the fact that I don't know what's best for others. And actually I have to take better care of myself. And that's why I'm in therapy, and that's why I journal, and that's why I do my accountability practices. And that's why I say sorry to people. It's all for me. It's cleaning my side of the street, even if the other people don't. And 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it. So in this case, for example, I spoke with a trusted person in confidence about how in being my own best friend, I can recognize that I might have had ridiculous expectations of a partner. One thing for men, it's another thing to have one person that I'm sort of turning into my father to have to do for me what my father didn't do may not be what I need now or what the other person has available to give. And it's still me wanting them to be like almost like a scapegoat or in the roles. So I have to continue to see where I'm taking advantage, trying to get something for free, right? Trying to, or like avoiding, or not trusting anybody, not giving people a chance to show their pure intentions, or when I give up on reward and I think it would be better off if I didn't exist or if nothing existed, that would be what would you say, serving the ideal and then despairing over it, and then being too debilitated and too disenfranchised to deal with the despair. So I'm not even talking to people about it. And then I'm not serving the happiness in anyone because I can't even see anyone. So continuing to take personal inventory is obviously continuing to be a dwelling place for peace and love, and however cheesy that sounds. So in number 11, seeking through prayer and meditation to improve conscious contact with God or a higher power source, as we understand him, her, it, whatever, praying only for the knowledge of the will and the power to carry, of that will, of the highest will and the power to carry it out. So where we came up short, we wanted maybe what we shouldn't want, or we were even wanting to cause harm without realizing it. It was not our forte. We were no expert there. We were supposed to be the receiver. And instead of receiving, we were trying to force others to do what we wanted. We're actually learning how to spontaneously express. And we do that by stopping and pausing. And that's why so many of the tips and tools I give in my videos in the past were about this. And finally, and also, of course, I pray and meditate every day. And I have a lot of ways, portals, containers, compartments to access through to the oneness, to the liberator of living, and only the truth sets us free. So we're cleaning out the insides, obviously. We're cleaning out the old patterns. We're cleaning out, I want to say, remember that quote about two kinds of people. One is the other keeps moving and changing and making new trysts. So that's really what I'm saying over here in my journey. And anytime, for example, the revenge feelings, I would say another aspect here is revenge is feeling like there's not justice. However, in my karma, like in me avoiding my healing or not expressing myself, it comes up and then I'm looking for someone who I could still express it to. It's not even for them. It's from the past when I didn't want to express it, or I was afraid to share love and I withheld it. But then that came to me like somebody's withholding that I'm trying to force. So if I would have from the beginning just not engaged in the patterns of withholding and manipulations and pleasing the other and trying to make sure I'm what they want so that they'll continue doing what I want, that is anti-God. That's anti-life. Finally, 12 is having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We try to carry this message to other addicts, in other words, other abused people, other people with a repressed inner child who are psychologically not living, and depending on detrimental or something harmful, dependent, right? And practicing these principles in all my affairs. So what am I doing? I'm depending on myself, and I'm also doing my best to be dependable. And also, I'm encouraging people to, in my journeys, people who come to me, whatever they need or want, encouraging people to connect and depend on their self and the true self. And that's in living. We become godly. We become the peace and love, our presence. As we make peace, we don't try to control anyone. We're the gurus, we're the monks, we're the light workers, and then we can be that mirror for others with our inner bubble. We could be the outer bubble for others too. So in this journey, no one's perfect, and we take away the shame of not wanting to be someone who even has to recover, has to go through these steps. If you have nothing you're coming up short with, but you have any complaints, then you need this. Then you need to heal yourself. You need to become dependent on yourself and stop being dependent on certain rules and regulations and dynamics just for you to feel like you could be yourself. It's still an amazing holiday of Passover. So we're being liberated, we're being freed, and it's revealed. So wishing you all healthy, happy, kosher holiday.